Okay, welcome everyone to the PPC Unfiltered podcast with myself, Michael Nadalin, and the amazing, wonderful, brainiac data scientist, Corey Lindbergh. Corey, mate, how are you going today?
What is up, Michael? It's good to be here. I'm doing fantastic. I'm up in Montreal right now. It's the autumn season, so we've got the leaves changing colors. It's beautiful, man. How about yourself?
Wonderful. Mate, I'm good. I'm good. Life is sunny here in Melbourne. I'm feeling good. Life is busy, business is busy, but I wouldn't want it any other way. So
Living the dream.
that's why we're here today, mate, just to keep the ball rolling and show
Yep,
people what's happening in the world of PPC, what's actually happening, not
actually.
what's hypothetically happening. What is the true stuff behind the scenes of guys who are running big accounts and lots of accounts,
Yes.
directly from the source, directly from our fingers. So let's chat, mate.
Okay, let's get it
Ready?
started. You want to go right into? Do you have a rant for it? Is there anything a really hot topic on your mind, or should we go right into the YouTube segment?
I don't have anything to rant about today because you know
What?
what the reality is? I fired bad clients last month, and whilst we're busy, everything's good. So I'm not ranting about anything about clients or Google Ads anymore. I actually
Okay.
feel like I can rant about that life is pretty good. It's busy, but it's good.
No one wants to hear that, Michael. They want to hear the bad
Yes,
stuff.
I'm suffering like you guys. I'm suffering. I'm doing my self-imposed suffering. Actually, here's a rant for you. If
Okay.
clients are stressing you out, there's either two reasons it's happening. Number one, you're allowing it to happen by not setting expectations, or number two, you haven't fired them yet. I know number two may not be financially viable to a lot of businesses, but you've got to get yourself into a position where you are, because then you'll get caught in that downward rat race that a lot of people do get caught in, where they're
Hmm.
just trying to keep up, they're hating the job, they're stressed every day. It's better to have five clients who you love and it's easy to work on rather than 10 clients that stress you out, even if you're making three times as much. Because the reality is, in your subconscious mind and your mind, you'll start to associate negativity to the work, negativity to clients, and people can feel that. People can
Yep.
feel when people have that negative energy, and you don't attract those higher quality clients. I know Corey has been doing this for years, that you do not tolerate BS from any business or client, and that's why you don't tend to experience it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael asked me, like, is there any stressful clients or anything? I'm usually, what, 99 out of 100. I'm like, no, everything's great because I'm so particular about the people I work with. I'm very
Yeah.
blessed in that way, but I'm also careful about the people that I work with. I want to hear a business partner on the other end of that phone, right? I want to hear someone who is agile, who is willing to adapt and be flexible, someone that is willing to break some things and see what we can put back together in a good way, because that's how growth happens. You have to
Yeah.
break things down and build them back up sometimes. So, I am always looking for that. It's tough to find really high value clients, I think. And when I say value, I don't mean money. I mean for your mental state, especially as an agency owner or someone that manages an account. Obviously, people who work client side that don't get to choose, like they're working inside of an agency, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Michael and I have been there ourselves, where you don't get to choose
Oh,
your client.
yeah.
Oh yeah, years of that, and it's not a pleasurable experience. And like Michael said, you start to sort of despise the work you're doing. You almost,
Yeah.
because it's a grind. You don't even. It's almost like you lose the faith in the business being able to succeed, no matter how good you are, because the person that's making the biggest decisions in the business is not going to be following your advice or your strategies, and they're just going to be wanting to run everything, and therefore you have no control over the results, and therefore you have no autonomy, and it's really hard to work in that kind of environment. That's kind of what we were talking about before the call, right? Like all these agencies that are running and they're not making a profit, and they're sort of in this strange state where they're like, we want to grow, we want to scale, but there's no profits here to scale. We're just trying to grow to grow. I don't know what it is. It's a very strange phenomenon.
I think people grow for the egoic reason of like, oh, we did 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million. And then it's like, you made no profit. You might have had 10% profit. I'm like, 200 grand from 2 million is lame. You can make 200 grand from 400 grand really easily, really easily. Like, we're here to make money, not just to get revenue numbers up. As
Yeah.
you're saying, Corey, it is it's one of these things where it's like, well, how do you get high value clients? And the thing is, you've got to earn it. You just don't rock up with amazing skills. You've got to be I like to say visible. Like people are seeing you online on videos like this or LinkedIn. You're on other people's podcasts. Like you're being seen as an authority because the higher you get, when you're seen more, you get more opportunities. And also, when people see you on video, they start to go, well, he must be an authority. So then they'll treat you differently versus if you're in the shadows. And number two is it comes from also like a lot of referrals and like people refer businesses like themselves. So if you've got bad clients, they're most likely going to refer other businesses similar to them mindset wise with the same expectations. So if you get an amazing client, overserve them initially and just treat it like it's a seed and you're growing a tree and more fruits are going to drop off. Look for that. That's the slow way, but it's the long term play that you will like. It's none of this is like you do it today and it'll work tomorrow. It's like you've got to take steps. Like at the start, you work on a lot of businesses that pay you poorly and they're poor businesses. Then you move to the next step where you get paid a bit more and they're still average businesses. Then you move to the next step, which is you start working with better businesses and they pay you well or not well. And then the next step is like you work with great businesses and then they pay you really well. The important thing about this is it's not like from 1 to 4 immediately. You've got to earn it. You've got to pay the time. Like you've got to grind through it. And that's the thing. It's like there's no shortcut to this. The shortcut is just do the work, accept the framework, and just know this is not an overnight thing. It
Yeah.
really does take time. But when you get to the other side, you're like, wow, it's amazing here. Why is everyone else suffering? It's so simple. But it's like, I've looked at myself over the last few years. I'm like, I've had to deal with some real caca or poo and just recognize that like it's all worth it because not only do you earn better clients, but you learn more about yourself and what you'll tolerate, and more importantly, what you will not tolerate ever again. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, expect the grind. I mean, when you're starting out, expect that it's going to be tough. Again, especially if you're starting out as a freelancer or you're working agency side and you don't get to choose your clients, it's going to be a lot of bad apples in there. And honestly, you can learn from every single one of them. I know it sounds cliche, but there's some kind of lesson you'll learn in how to handle those types of people and recognizing the red flags in the relationship. It's just like if you've ever been in the dating world and you're looking for a spouse or something or a partner, you're going to find those signs, but you're not going to see the signs if you haven't been on the dating scene or you haven't been really out there. But over time, you start picking them up, those red flags, you're like, oh,
Mm.
he or she's got trust issues. Okay, like I'm seeing it on the first date, probably not something I'm going to want to, get too deep into or whatever. Like you're going to be looking for those red flags. And to be honest, guys, when you're starting out, as much as you'd love to follow the advice of Michael and I and just say, be really particular and, don't choose everybody, whatever. In the beginning, you might just have to. You're going to recognize that this person sounds like they're a little erratic in their thinking and maybe irrational, whatever. But you might have to bite the bullet, as we say in the States, and just get that client to get the income coming in, to get the experience under your belt, and to expect that that person's probably going to come and go. It's not going to be this insufferable relationship you're going to have forever. Don't worry, it's just a learning lesson in life. So,
Yeah.
yep, just keep the ball moving forward.
I love that, mate. One thing that I'm really particular about is like every situation there's a learning in it. Every situation. So it's either like in the future, how we navigate communication with clients, how we set expectations when we're onboarding new clients. Most importantly, contracts. Anytime you see a red flag, put that in your contract that you don't tolerate it or you don't do this. And then, yes, your contract will be long, like mine. It's like 18 pages. But the reason why it's so long is because I've seen so many horrible things in agencies I've worked at and with some clients I've worked with that I'm like, if it's in the contract, that is the legal expectation, and if they do anything anti it, they're being unreasonable and unfair, not you. One of the biggest things is like, oh, if I push back, am I being like this and this and that? Like, am I being bad or am I being unhelpful? No. If it's in a contract and it's clearly communicated that this is tolerated and this is not, if they push against that, they are being unreasonable. And that's one of the worst things. It's the mental game around this. It's not the real game of clicking buttons and running ads. It's the mental game around, oh, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? Is this out of scope? Is this not? Be really clear on that. And so you know who's being unreasonable.
Yeah,
But
I
until
love
you
that.
define that, it's always going to be on you. Until you clearly define that and write it down, the expectation, the unspoken expectation is it's your responsibility. So it's your responsibility until it's not.
Hmm. Well said. Well said. Well, I think that's our rant.
Nice. 10 minutes, mate. How good is that?
Very
Well, it's
good.
important. It's important. So,
Awesome.
YouTube ads. Let's
Okay.
go in, mate.
All right.
So, I'll start off with a bit of context.
Okay.
On the high level, the theoretical level, the meta level, as people say, YouTube is one of the, I guess, the second biggest search engine in the world. It's obviously one of the most used websites in the world. They make their revenue from advertising, and people like us run YouTube ads because it's part of the Google platform. Now, a lot of people are amazing at Google ads. Some of them sometimes are not good at shopping ads because it's a bit different. YouTube ads is extremely different, even though it's in the same platform. People's skill set is just not there. So,
Hmm.
I want to chat about a few strategies around YouTube ads based on if you're doing retargeting or prospecting or cold traffic, and what type of industry, if you're doing it for lead generation, e commerce, or even like information products. A lot of content out there in the YouTube space is created by information marketers or info courses promoting info courses. So there's not really much out there talking about YouTube ads for either e-commerce or YouTube ads for lead generation for a service-based business. It's usually like, here's how to run YouTube ads for an info product, or here's how I used YouTube ads to make $1 million selling a course, which is
Yeah.
good if you're selling courses, but most of the clients that everyone works with will be e-commerce or lead generation, not info products. So that is where we start off, Corey. What are your
Hmm.
thoughts, mate?
It's funny enough too. When I run into YouTube ads, or I'm looking for advice on YouTube ads, I should say, in the consulting world, it tends to be on the lead generation side. There's a lot of interest in that because they're trying to. They feel limited where it's it's all search, and
Yeah.
search is okay, or maybe it's going terribly, but we know we need to expand our results, or we're looking for more creative ways to utilize Google Ads to get this type of awareness. And when I hear awareness, I'm a lot more psyched for them about the potential usage of YouTube. Whereas if I hear, man, we really want to increase conversions
Yeah.
or conversion value, whatever, I'm like a little more hesitant at their chances of it going well. Michael, do you want to kind of dig into that a little bit more?
I couldn't agree more. That's, as we always talk about, is expectation management. I've been seeing this more and more and more recently. We've got clients spending up to $100,000 a month on YouTube ads. And one of the biggest issues or challenges is managing the expectation that, hey, this is not going to get you sales. This is going to get you awareness, relevant traffic, and that's where it comes to, well, what's the objective? If like you're using this to try and get people to purchase stuff, man, it's going to be hard from cold traffic. But if you try to get them to maybe download a brochure or sign up for a webinar or give some sort of really low commitment offer or action or conversion point that they get something and you get their information, that's where it works. But as you're saying, Corey, like for awareness, it's outstanding. It really is. And you can really start to fill up those retargeting audiences and building out your funnel. But thinking you can just be like, do a mass market channel that's like a top of funnel strategy and get like bottom of funnel results, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I think that that's really the first point, is setting the expectation. YouTube ads is primarily not there to get you conversions.
Right. Yeah, look, it goes back to our conversations about the difference in how the algorithms may or may not work for, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, whatever, versus something like Google ads or Microsoft ads, right? The intent is different. Someone's actively on Google in their conscious mind looking for something either related to what you sell, or they're looking for exactly for what you
Mm.
sell. When they're on Facebook scrolling, or they're on Instagram scrolling or whatever, they're not in that consciously active looking state. They're just sort of browsing, right? They're just mindlessly scrolling. They're doom scrolling, as some people jokingly say, right?
Yeah.
They want to just zone out for a little bit. That's a different facets of the brain that are being activated there, and so those signals are different. Well, guess what, folks? Your advertising needs to also be tailored around that, right? We don't want to try to approach YouTube ads with the same mentality as search or shopping ads. They're just fundamentally different targeting methods and signals that Google's going to be utilizing, right? There is going to be some exceptions in like the way that you target audiences. For example, if you go after channels, which is a really great best practice, like relevant channels, that gives you some idea that there's some intent there, right? The person is already interested in that type of content. And they're going specifically to a channel, or they've already interacted and engaged with a channel that offers or talks about something that's very relevant to your brand. Okay, so those are maybe the exceptions to the rule, but in most cases, you're going to be doing a lot of billboards, essentially digital billboards, when someone's in that unconscious, mindless state and they're engaging with some kind of content, whether that is educational, which is very popular or common, or if there's just, sort of junk food TV videos, right, where we're just laughing or sharing a video with somebody. When you're hitting someone with, I don't know, let's say a home furnishings ad, and they're watching prank videos, is it really going to be relevant? Do you expect a lot of good quality engagement there? Probably not. So anyway, that's going to get more into the best practices later, but I think that's really relevant, is just to make that point that, look, you want to approach this similar to if you've ever done Facebook ads or you've learned anything about social media advertising, you're going to want to apply a lot of the same concepts to YouTube ads. And I think this is, to Michael's point, part of what gets lost as a Google advertiser, as a paid search expert, is there's this disconnect where they really don't want to go down the rabbit hole of YouTube ads because they feel like it's a whole different practice of marketing. Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, I still think it is. It is a very different practice. And I think people should be cautious. Treat YouTube ads like it's a different platform. Treat it like the difference between Google ads and Facebook ads. Because YouTube ads is just because it's in the Google ads platform. It is not Google ads. It is not even similar to Google ads. It's fundamentally, as you're saying, it's a very different product. It's a very different psychology and all those psychographic things you're going after. It's hard. It's actually really hard. Like retargeting, everyone's like, oh yeah, just do this. It's easy. And when you go, oh, it's easy, they're just running retargeting. When you go into that cold ocean out there, man, it is like one of the biggest ad channels in the world for that.
Yeah.
But man, you can drown really fast and your
Yeah.
money can go really fast. And there's all these settings and all these things that Google will just, you can spend a lot of money really fast because there is a lot of people watching. So you've got to be really cautious of your settings and the setup and who you're targeting and what ads you're showing and what ad budget distribution you're giving and how many ads you run. It is wild. And I still don't have the algorithm in my mind of what works. Usually I just say to clients, look, we've just got to, I hate saying this, we've just got to really just test and see what works for your data. But I've got a lot of best practices that I do. I actually released a video on it on my channel, which is just about the different stages of YouTube ads and how many ads you should be running for different budgets, from 5K a month or 1,000 a month up to $100,000 plus, because at every stage you've got to change the strategy. People just think they can scale it, but it's no ad channel is just you turn up more budget and it scales. You've got to have different structures and different audiences. And at the start, you may only need one audience with 2 ads. But as you grow, you may need 15, 50 audiences with 5 ads in them. It's just, but that's why I wanted to chat about this today. It's just about the complexity of it and, people who feel overwhelmed by YouTube ads and how do I do it properly, to make them feel no one's a master of this yet. I'm yet to see someone who I'm that is the YouTube ads master. And they've done it consistently across a lot of e-commerce and lead generation businesses. Not information courses, not for gurus, but for actual real businesses using cold traffic, not retargeting traffic.
Right, beyond remarketing. Yep, super important point. Yeah, I think one big thing is just you got to temper your expectations with something like this. I think if you're a business owner doing this yourself and you've done Google ads for a while, or you're a paid search specialist and you're used to getting results using clear intent signals via search terms, whatever, then you move to YouTube ads as an expansion opportunity for the account. And you run into this huge wall you didn't expect, which is wait, where is all the intent signals? This is a lot different. And it is. Yeah. So therefore, you cannot expect anywhere near the quickness of conversion data that you have come to expect with search or shopping. And you're not going to have those same experiences with being really clear, okay, this seems to be more commercial intent, let's try to optimize more towards this or whatever, you're going to try to look for patterns in terms of conversion rates and things like that as always, but don't expect them to come as quickly, those learnings and those insights to come nearly as quick as what you're used to with search and shopping.
Yeah. A big thing, as you're saying that, is like I'm getting on like this huge download of all like the the real stuff that goes behind the scenes of YouTube ads. And it's, there are a few elements you've got to really consider. Is number one, structure and settings, which is just like how are you setting up campaigns? Like, are you doing a retargeting campaign and then like a prospecting campaign? Or like a lot of people, do you throw it in all together? Or when you throw in the audiences, are you mixing the audiences into ad groups, like one ad group, or are you splitting them out? And then that's the structure. And then like the next one is like the creative, like how many creative you got to run. You got to one video for like 15 seconds, 5 videos like at a different variation, or 5 different cuts and like at different lengths. It's like you've got the different types of videos and then you got the different lengths, and it's like, well, you got to be testing lengths and also different creative. And then the other thing is, this is very similar to Facebook. So if anyone's watching this who does Facebook ads, you'll know this. You might run 5, 10 ads in an ad set, and 80% of the traffic and impressions go to one ad, because Facebook's algorithm will go, oh, this had one conversion, let's spend more money on this. And then those 9 other ads get the next 20%. It's the same with YouTube, by the way. So this is the big issue with YouTube, is a lot of people just go throw a lot of ads in. One ad goes well and then it dips off, but then all the other ads haven't had a chance to run, but the algorithm's still pushing that one ad. So when you've got all these different ads, these different campaign and ad group setups, and the algorithm running, it's really easy to lose control over it. That's why when with YouTube ads, I always recommend, and with actually Facebook ads now, minimal and simple starts. So 1 or 2 campaigns, maybe with like 4 to 5 different audiences, maybe with 2 different variations of ads. That way, if you're running more ads, you're not going to actually get a clear picture on what works. And even if it does work and you've got heaps of ads, you're not going to know, oh, was it the audience? Was it the campaign? Was it the settings? Was it the ad? Because you can only optimize what you actually have your mind across. And if there are too many variations or variables, you're not going to be across it. So that's just what came through my mind just then, Corey.
All right. Couple of best practices.
Yeah. A couple of best practices. Because
I love it.
I would just say to people, start simple. Start simple. Really simple. Really simple. Stupidly simple.
Yeah, I think it's a really valid point, right? I mean, a lot of people come at this and they're really lost at all the options, and the options are new to them and they don't know where to start. And so they never get started. They never even try, right? So I think that's maybe where part of where your thought process is coming from, is like, just at least get started with something simple when you want to expand beyond remarketing. What assets have been working from a remarketing standpoint? Maybe start with those, right? Again, start simple. You don't have to maybe recreate the wheel. What are we seeing in terms of placements that are doing well from a remarketing standpoint? Maybe we try to go after those a little more aggressively to start. What do we see across search, shopping, etc., and Facebook? Again, people always forget, look at what's working on Facebook. If you've been running it, what have you learned there that we can apply to YouTube ads? It's not one-to-one like we talked about, but there's still going to be stuff in your historic data points that are somewhat relevant, that are applicable and transferable to what you want to do in YouTube ads. So yeah, I really like that advice of starting simple. Yeah, I just want to maybe round it out with my biggest piece of advice for people, because I think when they get lost in the weeds of this stuff, they see all the different settings, the different bid strategy they're not used to, whatever. And also sticking with the point of keeping it simple. Guys, I cannot give you a better piece of advice around YouTube ads. And honestly, I'm not a Facebook advertiser guy, but I used to do it. And I talk to people who do this all the time. And it tends to be, understand your audience. I know that's a cliche, but in YouTube ads, it is so crucial that you understand your core audience, because if you don't have that, when you're trying to follow the best practices that are out there for YouTube ads, Facebook ads, right? Compelling hooks, like including your brand inside of that, and making sure that that's a relevant introduction, and aligning those ads and the creatives with user intent and telling a story. How do you know what's a compelling hook if you don't know the users you're talking to? How do you know what story to craft or what's going to be relevant for that audience if you don't know who the audience is you're targeting? If you just create messaging that, it's for everybody, yeah, it's the best we could do you really think from a cold targeting standpoint that's going to do well? Probably not. So guys, cannot give you more like better advice in the YouTube ad space and probably Facebook ads than to really know your what we call customer cohorts. If you have historical data, analyze that data to figure out who are our core avatars. There's a lot of different ways people like to refer to these, but your groups of customers or core audiences who are likely or have already bought your products or services in the past, go after and craft messaging that is specific to those core audiences and maybe consider structuring your campaigns accordingly. So that should get you started, but really, really vital for success here.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I just had more mental downloads about like other things where people go, and you've got to consider your industry, e-commerce, lead generation, or information products. You've got to also consider where you're targeting. Is it nationwide, just state, or is it local? Because that will influence it. You've got to, once again, consider what your outcome is. Is it the conversions or driving awareness? As you've mentioned just then, who are you targeting? And then making sure everything's aligned with that. You've got to consider how many video creatives you have. Are they up to scratch? Are they good? And most importantly, what metrics do you look at? Now, I don't like conscious of time, we'll wrap this one up, but the metrics is another thing where it's like, if it's not so focused on outcomes of conversions, which we mentioned at the start, what metrics do you look at to know if it works? And I'm going to leave it there because you've got to figure it out. That's the $1 million secret, because I'm spending millions of on ads on YouTube. I'm not going to give you that secret. I will next time.
But I'll give you a hint. Start with conversions and work your way back from there.
Yeah, always start with conversions. But then if there are conversions, which there won't be, there's other numbers to look at. And Corey, let's jump to our next segment. We've got 8 minutes. We won't go over this data feed checklist just because I don't feel like we've got time. But do you want to go over the hot tip of the week? Okay, so everyone, this is a data feed checklist that I got from my mate Adrian on LinkedIn. It was actually from someone else. I need to credit them, and I apologize right now for whoever it is. But the reason why I wanted to share this is, data feed, like Google Shopping, if you're running e-commerce, like 80 to 90% of your success will come from shopping ads. And the shopping ads, you don't bid on keywords, but you have influence over the feed health or viability to increase the probability of more clicks and more sales. So this is a data feed checklist. I saw it, I liked it, and I went to Corey, mate, let's go through this and just suss it out and just go, what do we like? What would we add? What we think's high? What's low value? Not high value, or like high impact, low impact, and we can go from there. So let's do it, Corey.
All right, I'm excited. Let's do it. All right, we will be very respectful of whoever did this. I promise. Yeah. We won't totally tear you down on this. We'll just add some things that we feel are relevant, or say maybe I wouldn't prioritize that.
Cool. So we'll start up with product titles, which I think is probably the most important part, in my opinion. We may disagree here, by the way. This is not scripted, guys. Keyword placement in product titles. Impact high, priority high. Would you agree?
Yep.
Definitely. Include brand name in titles.
Sometimes. Not always.
Most of my clients, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I suppose if it's a branded product like Nike or Adidas or Adidas in Australia. But for just like your local brand, I don't know if it really makes a difference.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's a play on ad rank, but we won't get into the weeds on that one. But yeah, I would say it's going to be very dependent on a lot of situations. I wouldn't say like 100%. Let's do it every time.
Okay.
But anyway.
Adhere to character limits in title.
Well, it's a must. You have to do it.
Yeah. What is the character limit?
Well, 150?
Okay. That's a lot to put in the title. But I suppose like when you hover over it.
Goes fast. No.
Now, in terms of even just like product titles, I suppose it even can come down to like reviewing the syntax of how things are put in. Like some people go, you put your brand and size and this and that. Like, do you have any best practice in your mind around that?
I was going to say, I'm thinking that's going to be, if it's not an addition, maybe that's just what he's saying with row 3 is keyword placement and product titles. It's not even just.
I think it's a she.
What's that? Oh, she. Okay. Apologies. to her. Yeah, keyword placement in product titles. That's probably what she's referring to. Is getting in if it's relevant, size, color, materials, whatever. That's so important because whatever you find is going to be in the most common search terms or search categories, whatever you want to call it now. Those need to be in there more than likely. Now, it's a fun game is to try to analyze and figure out which words outside of that obvious stuff should be in there. Like, what are people using that convert the most? What are the words they use? You're playing this game of, of balancing search volume, and there being a lot of search volume with also the performance of those words, right? You don't just want to like put all the high search volume stuff if they don't convert well for your brand, because maybe there's a mismatch there. So you got to play that game trying to figure out a balance, and you'll test it over time.
Yeah, I like to do some direct response aspects to my ads, like putting phrases or words at the start to capture attention. So then, even if it's not to the left as much, people will notice it based on how I set it up. Images. Now, this is an area, Corey, that I know you're quite. You've given me some tips on it. You use high resolution product images. I think that's yes. Include multiple angles in the product images.
Yeah, I like the medium. Definitely not a high priority, but yeah.
Use clean backgrounds in images.
Yes, please. You might just get disapproved if it doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
what was that thing you were mentioning to me a few weeks ago that if you change the color of the background, it can help you stand out a bit more?
Yeah, look, I mean, if everybody's being told to do it one way and you do it a different way, and this is advertising, guess who's going to stand out and get the eyeballs first? You probably will. Now, I'm not saying do something crazy like a bright red background. You might get disapproved, surprisingly, for something like that. But if everyone else is doing a white background and you do a light blue, and that's relevant to the industry, you might find better performance.
A light baby blue.
Light baby blue, yeah.
Cool. Descriptions. Provide detailed product descriptions. High.
I mean, as a part of the grouping of saying our description's important, that would be a vital part of it. Would I spend countless hours on every single product, making sure the description is as well optimized as possible? Maybe not. It depends on the brand and how much time you have to manage the account and stuff. I think some people go too crazy with this, and it doesn't really seem to incrementally deliver more results. The title is more important. Would you agree?
Title is more important. With clients, when we get to the descriptions, I export the products into a Google Sheet and then have this dynamic feed, like this dynamic rule, which literally gets the product title and then goes title and then pulls in the sizes and then it kind of keyword stuffs it a bit. So all of them are the same, but it's all dynamic as well. So I know it's got the size, keywords, ethic, like what type of words there would need to be in it. I think it is important, but if don't do it manually, try to find an automated way that can do it, either with feed rules or with a Google Sheet offline and then push it back in.
Yep, or AI or something if you use an OpenAI token or something like that. Yep.
Include technical specifications in the description.
Yeah.
This is what I don't get. Like, are even people seeing these descriptions?
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, it's not like when you're hovering over it, you're getting all this information. It feels like it's more about, it's for the shopping section of.
If it is in the shopping center, I try to use this more as like a bit of like in SEO, this would be called like the meta title, and this would be called the meta description. So the title for SEO would be, that's actually quite profound, Michael Nadlin. Good on you, mate. Just treat it like this is the meta title of an SEO page and this is meta description, and people know that the meta title will be more powerful or keyword rich than the description.
Yep, completely agree.
Use structured format for descriptions.
I guess that's the dynamic element, and that's what they're referring to. I don't know.
Cool. Custom labels. Cool. Segment products by profitability with custom labels.
If profits are relevant for you, a lot of businesses not. A lot of businesses like, 30% margins. We don't need that. So I'm like, great, we can use custom label for something else.
Yeah. So. Create seasonal custom labels.
Again, relevant sometimes, not always, but can be profoundly impactful if we can get that in our analysis, that we know that there's certain seasonal effects happening inside of certain product categories. Good luck with about 99% of Google Ads managers knowing how to do that properly, though. Hire me.
Label products based on stock levels.
Again, can be, but it's also improperly done so often or done manually that it's not going to be a viable option for a lot. But it also can be It can be helpful, but one of the things I run into the most when trying to, this is sort of like an over optimization in some cases, or it's a perfect optimization, is if it takes a long time to get new inventory, this can be kind of a disaster where you're always like you're just creating more work for yourself, and
Yeah.
you're not able to really optimize around this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like if it people like if it, you had that client that's like, look, we've got low stock levels of this, so stop running ads on it. It's like, okay, cool, but like 99% of the time that will never happen. I'm looking at these custom labels. I'm like, profitability. I do not bid on profitability. I would do it like with custom labels. I do it on product ranges, like if they're tops versus pants versus shoes versus that, because it's like the different types of products. So it's better to have those segmented out. What are some of the other things? In terms of label products based on stock levels, I've just got automatic rules that literally say out of stock. Like a custom label is created for out of stock when it's labeled out of stock, just with like a
Yeah.
feed rule. Not that that does anything, but it just keeps me posted on how many products are out of stock.
Yeah.
Custom labels are really interesting. A few years ago, I got really into it based on like when I first got into it, I did different custom labels if it was between 0 to 50, 50 to $100, 100 to 200, and then would bid more manually, bid higher cost per clicks for higher products. But now it's just like I do custom labels on every single client and multiple custom labels, but I see it done really poorly a lot of the time. Or when people do it, I'm like, I get why you think that looks good, but you're not using that to even filter down campaigns based on that or to even do any analysis.
Hmm.
So I feel like some people just do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've run into that myself. Yeah, like they haven't even updated them in 2 years or something, like because they found some script for it, and it's like, yeah, we haven't updated those in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to add real quick on the custom labels. Those ones are pretty popular. I'm going to just add to them some other ones that I think are more common that may or may not be useful to you, depending on your business, your products or services, your customer base, and whatever buying behavior is that you've identified. Right? There's no one size fits all for this. This is where the creativity comes in. Why you hire
Yeah.
someone that knows what they're doing, so they can work with you and your deeper knowledge of the business to figure out what custom labels work best in the analysis levels when you're actually doing the analysis, and you figure out what actually is going to make sense to layer into those analyses. But promotions and sales, things we haven't talked about already, promotions and sales, customer segments like commercial versus residential, sometimes that's a valuable asset to have in there. The life cycle stage of a product, so how long has it been in your inventory? In some cases
Mm.
that's relevant. Geographic relevance, features, benefits, meh. Sometimes it's not as common. The age of the product in terms of how long it's been on the market, popularity, if you have tracking around that you can
Yeah.
trust in, and then the product complexity is a complex product, a simple product. Again, you're going to use these for analysis and maybe potential restructure ideas as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and move forward.
Use Google Sheets. Don't use the feed rules for this stuff because like you can export all your backend data like from the Shopify site and then download your feed and then use VLOOKUPs based on
Yeah.
formulas you create. That's what we mostly do is just like it is simple, but it's extremely hard. But when you do it, it's extremely valuable. Now,
Yeah.
Corey, like I've said, I've got to go soon.
Yep.
So
Okay.
let's just quickly smash through this. These high, let's just go through the high ones rather than everything else. Conduct regular feed audits.
Of course.
Automate feed updates.
Well, we've mentioned that several. Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. Monitor and fix errors.
Nah, leave them. Leave them. Kidding.
Exclude low ROAS products. Exclude low
No,
CTR
no.
products.
Put them somewhere else. See if they work better in their own campaign or via a different type of campaign type.
Yeah.
Don't just get rid of products because you eventually might be down to just selling 3 of your 100
Yeah.
products, and that's not always a good place to be. So no.
You got to remember, low ROAS products is what people click on is not necessarily what they buy. So
Yes,
that's why this
exactly.
can be really misleading because you might
Hmm.
have a product that has a low ROAS because it's getting a lot of traffic through the door, but then you're getting all these other products bought. Maybe a product that's
Exactly.
higher or lower. Really misleading. It's really misleading that whole Google like, oh, we spent this much on this product and got this many sales. No.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Especially the next one with the low click through rates. Absolutely not. I mean, you could have your best performing products be low click through rate. That doesn't. I'm here for conversions, not click
yeah,
through rates. So
low
that's okay.
CTRs. Like this may negatively impact if it shows more in the future, but you're paying per click, not per impression. This ain't
Yes.
Facebook. Exclude out of stock products.
Not always. Most of my clients keep them going because we want to keep the awareness going. We don't want to pull it out, right? We want to we offer the ability for the customer to like a back order, right? So we have back orders, so they can place the order, but they know up front that the shipping is going to be a while. I would rather most clients keep it going.
Right now, I thought out of stock products don't run on the feed.
No, you can still keep them going as long as Google sees on the site that you can still offer them. Like if someone can still check out and buy the product, but the shipping is going to be a while, technically it's still kind of in stock. You just got to be careful about that.
But if in the feed it says out of stock, will it run?
Well, if it's out of stock in that way, no. If it's technically out of stock, but that's where I'm saying you got to kind of be creative in how you go about it.
Me, Corey Lindholm.
I'm trying to walk the line here.
And then I think this feed segmentation probably similar to custom labels, segment feed by product type, price range. I was mentioning they used to do that years ago. Don't do it anymore, guys. Don't do it anymore. Don't think it's relevant.
Yeah.
And segment feed by geographic location. Now, I don't do this, but I reckon Corey, you're going to be like, yeah, man.
Well, you have to sometimes, yeah, just for, whatever. But usually going to have a different feed for each country in some cases just to have the control there. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad checklist. I think that we've hopefully added some extra value on there. Michael's got to run, so we apologize for having to speed through it. If you guys want more, let us know. We can always revisit it and tear it apart some more. No, I'm kidding. They did a good job there.
Awesome. Well, Corey, mate, this is awesome. How do people find you?
Yeah, adsbycorey.com. This one we're going to do the real thing today. All right, adsbycorey.com. And you can also find me on LinkedIn as well as Twitter every once in a while at Paid Search Coach. And then also I am on YouTube and Spotify, both for myself and the podcast PPC Unfiltered. And thank you guys for watching. Michael, where can people find you, sir?
Not at Ads by Corey, but marketlead.com.au, Market Lead on YouTube, and Michael Nadalin on LinkedIn as well, and the PPC Unfiltered podcast.
Beautiful.
Guys,
all right.
Thanks for watching this today. It's a very different format that we've done, but hopefully you guys have learned a lot of things that you didn't know beforehand.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.